It's time to make a cover for my Ocean Eyes junk journal. So today I would like to invite you to watch me craft and see how this junk journal cover came to life. Enjoy! Hi there, this is Luise Heinzel. Welcome to my channel Junk Journal Art. Nice to see you here. So yeah, today let's make a cover for the Ocean Eyes junk journal. As you can see here, I have my signatures here in my signature organization tool that I've shown you the last time. And yeah, please don't be confused. These are the signatures for two journals. So as you perhaps know, I'm making a German version of my video content, and this is the English version, as you can hear. And you can see the signatures of both journals that will be created by me in this organization tool. So I wanted to show you this in action. So when I've showed you this experimental tutorial, when I built this up, this stand for my signatures, then I haven't had any signatures yet. So here is this thing in action with the signatures in it. And it's so cool because now I can flip through my signatures without having them laying on my desk. And as you can see, so I've tried to film my desk here a little bit, so you can see the space that I now have on my desk. Before I had this organization thing, my signatures were laying loose on my table and I had no chance to work in them without having a mess on my desk. Now this thing is really, compact, it's really small, and I can place it wherever I want and I can have much space on my desk to work. So perhaps that's some kind of an idea for you as well. So let's take out the signatures and the cover that we need for this project today. So here you can see what I would like to include to the cover. So this is part of a very, very cute happy mail that I got the other day. So this is an original find from the beach of England and Wales. So here are some seashells and some this nets that the fishers use, and some plants and that stuff. Of course, everything is dry. So here we also have some metal things. I think that comes from a pencil or this ballpoint pen. I think that's the right word. It's really strange to find something like that there, but yeah, I think that's the reality, and I don't want to go into detail what I think about that because that's not the topic of this video. But when I saw that, I was really shocked, and this problem with our environment came to my mind so clearly. That was some kind of shocking moment for me, but I thought I would like to have this on my cover in its beauty and in its original version. I don't know how I can say that, like God has planned it, so without the metal and without all those plastic things and that stuff. So I think you know what I mean. So in one of my first videos, I've shown you the cover that I have chosen for this journal, and that cover was obviously too small, and I have shown you this way to enlarge the cover with this scrapbooking paper on the first and the last signature. If you have missed that, please check out the Ocean Eyes playlist. There you can find a solution how you can enlarge every journal cover so that it fits your needs. So that's what I did here. As you can see, this cover is a little bit too small in the spine. So the measurements of the spine are not wide enough, so I have to enlarge the spine. As you can see, when I take the book and let the signatures do what they want, you can see that it's way too small. So we have to enlarge the spine of this book. In this case, I've decided to make the distance in between of my signatures 1 centimeter instead of 0.5 centimeters, what I normally would do, because I have much embellishments that are really thick. For example, those decorated paper clips or this thing here. Sometimes I've used some buttons or really bulky materials, so that I thought it would be better to have 1 centimeter distance in between of all those signatures. And yeah, you can see that when you press your journal lightly, and you can see this distance on the back of the signatures. Then you can see relatively easy how much space you would need. And that was also a question by you. So yeah, in this series, I'm trying to answer some of your questions as well. I've mentioned that before. So you've asked me how I measure how wide the spine has to be for such a junk journal. So the first thing that you have to make sure is that you have your right amount of signatures, that you have all the pages that you want in one signature in this signature. So the signatures have to be, yeah, relatively ready. But that means you have the pages that you want in there. Of course, you can embellish some things later on when the signatures are in the journal and when they are sewn in. But of course, you need these things first, so that you know how much signatures you will have and how many pages each signature has. In my case, I have 7 signatures here. So I think probably some of you might think, how many pages do I have to use for one signature? Please go to my Teabag Birds playlist. There I'm explaining that in detail and how I managed that. So there you find a video where I explain that really deep in detail. And some of you have asked me how much space has to be in between of the front cover and the first signature. So that's not so easy to answer. So I am trying to show it to you here. I'm taking my ruler and I press it to the left piece of the cover and to the spine. And as you can see, this lays really close, not like this, but really close to the cover material. Some old books have something like this that I'm trying to show you here. They have a little corner or something like that that looks like this, and it's relatively extreme on some of those really old books. And when you see that on your book, it's better to have 1 centimeter space in between of the left cover piece and the first signature. Otherwise, if it looks like this here, you can also take half of a centimeter. Belonging to the thickness of your signatures, of course, you can decide that individually for each journal. So in this case, I will take 1 centimeter in between of the left front cover and this spine thing, because I have this thick scrapbooking paper around that's really sturdy and that needs space. And I have also some embellishments like this here that makes this thing a little bit thicker. So I will use 1 centimeter. So I'm making a little, yeah, a thing here for you so that you can imagine what I'm talking about. It's a little bit difficult to explain because it's, yeah, an individual thinking thing on each journal. So please imagine that this is the journal cover, that it stands like so. So that this thing here is this thing there, this spine is here, and this is the other part of the cover. So I'm just writing spine in German. Please don't be confused. I'm writing Rücken. That means something like spine in German. So here we have the centimeter in between of the cover and the first signature. And on the, yeah, on the other side, we need that as well. And now when we have 7 signatures, we can see that on our ruler relatively easy what we have to do. So here is the left cover at 0. the first signature is here, the second here, the third here, the fourth here, the fifth here, fifth here, and so on. And we need the last centimeter here. So we have 8 centimeters until the right part of the cover. So that means we need, here's the first, second, third, fourth, and so on, so that we have 1 centimeter in between of each signature, so that we have 8 centimeters in total. Hopefully that makes sense. So I like to control that twice so that I don't make any mistakes in the following steps. Yeah, so hopefully that makes any sense to you. So the next thing that we have to do is we have to cut the spine. For this plan, I'm using a cutting mat, as you can see, so that I don't destroy my table. And I'm using a really, really sharp knife to cut this thing into half. So first of all, I'm laying this here to the grid of my mat so that I can see where I have to cut, so that I can cut this thing exactly in half. So I mean this spine thing. And I like to cut that while I'm standing. So then I have more pressure to my ruler. The whole thing is much more safe when you cut this. But please make sure that you don't cut into your fingers when you use such a sharp knife. So I put my ruler here exactly to the middle of the spine. And then I take my knife and just cut it. I go over it with medium pressure over and over again until I'm sure that I have this here. So now we have the 2 parts of this, and we will need something that we can put in between for the new spine. So I like to use some rests that I have from other projects. So this is a book cover that I already had cut, as you can see, and I'm using that. Unfortunately, on this piece here, there were only 7 centimeters. So yeah, otherwise I would use that, but that was 1 centimeter too less. So I'm taking the other side and I'm laying that to my cutting mat as well, so that I can see where I have to cut. I'm also using my ruler to measure this again to make sure that this piece is really, really exactly. It has to be 8 centimeters in every spot of the length. So you know what I mean. And here I'm standing up again so that I can have much pressure to my ruler, and then I'm cutting this really carefully. Please make sure that you do this really, really carefully, and that you watch to your fingers and that stuff, that you don't cut your fingers. Then I'm laying this piece below my book cover to get the height. I'm making this little line here so that I know where to cut this piece. Same thing as before. And yeah, then we can begin to glue this together. So I'm first checking this little slot here so that I can make sure that I know where I have to glue this little piece. Of course, you will need this little slot in between of the spine and the cover so that you can do it like so. That this cover flips really easily, and that's because of this little gap in between. If you would put it like so, then you can see this, you can't flip it to its position that it's meant to be. So please make sure that you have this little slot. And some of you ask me how big this slot has to be. Some people say that it has to have the same thickness as the cover has, so that the cover material has the chance to go into the slot. But I made the experience belonging to the, no, depending, these both words, sorry, depending to the book cover material that you have. It's every time a little bit different. So I don't like to give you any measurements, but I want to encourage you to put that without glue to its place. Check out how big this little slot has to be, and then glue it. That's the easiest way. So I'm using bookbinder's glue to glue this, and I'm applying that with a paintbrush. First of all, I thought I would use this little thing with this thin opening, but you need some, a good amount of glue on your piece there to have the chance to move that around a little bit and to bring everything in position. For the inner part of this cover, I've chosen this scarf. It's made out of silk, a really thin material. By the way, this was dyed by my grandmother. So, yeah, you know this story about my grandmother and this journal and Louisa Heinzel and my grandmother. You know that story. So I wanted to use that. And because of the fact that this silk is really thin, I glued it step by step. First of all, I brought it to the right position on the spine. So yeah, you can fold it in half, lay it to the middle of your spine and then glue it. When you use silk, please don't use too much glue. It's really, really difficult to know how much glue to use so that the glue doesn't come through this really thin material. It's, yeah, some kind of an experimental and experience thing. So if you have worked with silk before, you know that. And yeah, it's sometimes a little bit difficult. So to get the right size, I've teared it just around, relatively irregular. You will see later why I did it. And then I used this, how is that called? This lace. Please don't be shocked about the color. That will change in a second. But yeah, my camera can't catch this. This lace has a really cool golden shimmer on it. It's really elegant, but the wrong color. So I decided that I want to use this, but I will change its color in a second. So first of all, I've glued it here with my bookbinder's glue, dried everything really well, and then I went around it with my scissors and cut along this floral pattern that the lace has to have this really irregular and hopefully interesting frame around the cover. Later on you will see I'm trying to create something between a really rectangle shaped cover but also irregular on the edges. That will make sense in a few minutes, hopefully. For the inside, I've took a lace as well and glued that here with my bookbinder's glue as well. And that's also, yeah, how can I explain that? Please imagine this ocean feeling. It's not regular. It's not straight lines. It's not this, you know, it's irregular. It's not plannable. It's, yeah, you know what I mean. For the outside, and that's also a reason to, yeah, bring this topic out a little bit more. I've used some distress oxides, some coffee, some water, and this, what comes here, is distress ink forest moss and the refiller of my distress oxide vintage photo. I've spritzed sorry, water to it to let the colors flow, to make this sandy color, to make something like this underwater sand look. Don't know if that makes sense. If you want to imitate this, please don't do it like I'm doing it here. Please dye the whole thing at once. I thought I would like to try it out on one piece of the cover and then do the rest. I was so happy that the rest turned out the same like this first piece, but that's not normal. That was a pure happy accident, because you have to do those steps after each other. And here on the insert cover, I'm doing it like I would recommend it, to do the steps on all of the pieces that you want to dye in the same order and at the same time, so that your result gets much more regularly in the end. For making this silk a little bit more vintage, I've used some distress oxides as well and made that a little bit brown. And then I began to stamp to the inner part of the spine. I've used some stamps that can also be found within the signatures. And what you can't see here I'm stamping some starfishes in between of the lace. That looks really cute when you look closer. For the outside, I've decided that I want to have, yeah, something interesting. And first of all, I'm trying to get this corners here to the book cover. I can't apply metal book corners, of course. So I've decided to make some book corners out of this yellow fabric. So this will change its color later. So this is, of course, not the right color. But it has something of this lace color as well. So I made these little triangles. First of all, I glued them with my bookbinder's glue, and then I've sewed around so that now this cover is a rectangle but irregular as well. So hopefully that makes sense to you. Yeah, strange things are going on in my mind when I make book covers, but yeah. Hopefully you can understand what I'm doing here. So this lace that you can see there, I've only clamped it with some bulldog clamps to its this position where it later will be. I can't glue it now because I want to make a hidden spine, and for that I have to glue these things to the spine later to cover my sewing thread. So yeah, to get an imagination, I've laid it down there so that you are not confused that I've not glued it yet. And then I tried to glue this fisher's net. Such a strange thing. So it was relatively fast that I decided to have this circle on the top. I didn't know what to do with this thing that's coming out on the bottom, but yeah, as you can see, I played around a little bit, and this process that I had there is really difficult to explain for me because it's so intuitively done. It's, yeah, I had to live with the materials and with what the materials are wanted to do. So this net was not very flexible. This thicker parts of this net were really stiff, and yeah, I had to live with where they wanted to go, and I tried to hear what the materials are speaking to me. That sounds really crazy, I know, but I think if you're working with such thick and bulky materials on your cover and materials that are really hard to glue, then you have to go this way. I don't know another way than checking out if one piece fits into the other and then glue it there. I think that's the only chance to get such materials to such a cover. This mermaid charm thingy there originally was silver. Obviously, that is not matching the rest. So I took some gilding wax and made it gold. Now it looks really cool because the silver comes through a little bit and it has this really cool vintage look. I have to say, in the camera, this whole thing looks not the same like you see it with your eyes. I don't know the reason why my camera can't catch the real colors, but it looks really strange. It was so hard to film that. I think it's because of this golden touch of the lace that's underneath that I've dyed a few minutes ago. I think that the camera has some problems with that, but in reality this looks so cool. And sometimes when I see those mermaid themed journals, then for my personal preference, some of them look a little bit kitschy. Do you know what I mean? You see a piece of art, someone has made a mermaid junk journal cover, and you think, oh, it's a piece of art. You can see that, but it's kitschy at the same time. And I wanted to create something here that in my eyes is not kitschy. And I think I reached this goal by using this real materials and the real shells, this real net, and some sea glasses are included here as well. And of course, this whole thing is personal preference. There may be, no, I'm sure there are people out there, perhaps you, that are thinking this is kitschy as well. This doesn't look beautiful. It's too matchy-matchy. It's yeah, some kind of strange who is gluing stones and shells onto a book cover. But this process was so relaxing, and I say that even if the camera was recording. I mean, always when the camera is recording, I'm not so relaxed. I'm not, yeah, I'm myself, so yeah, but I always have to think about those technical things. Is the camera recording? Do I have enough space on my phone for the film and that stuff? And here I totally forgot this camera and that it was recording. It's really, really interesting, a really interesting experience for myself. And probably it can be an experience for you as well to get into this flow and this relaxing motion. Yeah, so the next thing that I did was I covered the whole thing with Mod Podge. I used this antique version of Mod Podge that is drying a little bit more vintage, not so bright clear. It's a little bit beige, but only really a tiny bit. And with this step, I wanted to make this whole thing, of course, sealed and glue those loose pieces that are standing out here and there a little bit better so that this gets really sturdy and really, really well glued. Yeah, so I dried this a little bit, and as you can see here, the Mod Podge is not totally dry. The rest I've dried overnight because heat gun and Mod Podge is not such a good idea. But look at these sea glasses, how clear they came out. It's like they are laying underwater. They are not so matte anymore. It's really, really cool. I haven't expected that the Mod Podge is drying in such a way, but yeah, I really love it. And lastly, I went over this whole thing with my Distress Oxide Vintage Photo to bring that whole thing a little bit more together and also mute down the color of this yellow edges a little bit. And yeah, that's my result. So the lace is still not glued. Looks a little bit weird here. Sorry for that. But yeah, the topic of this video was the cover. And here it is. For me, for my personal experience, it's a masterpiece. I hope you like it as well. Please leave a comment what you think about this. I'm so hoping that you like it as much as I like it. And yeah, hopefully you will try something similar by yourself. I would love to see something of that. Please, yeah, if you like, share it on Instagram and tag me, and I would love to see your results. Hope you enjoyed this. Thank you very much for watching. See you the next time. Bye bye.